Flavors and Knowledge is a bilingual podcast focusing on gastronomic education in relation to a healthy lifestyle through food first. Our philosophy carries a moral obligation of sharing sensible knowledge to generate social awareness. Podcasts are in English with an accent and Italian.
Hello friends, welcome back to Flavors and Knowledge, the food learning podcast. I'm Chef Walter. This new episode is the first of 2022, as I've been running around in southern Italy preparing for my upcoming tour, which will be in April of this year, in the southern region of Puglia. Today, however, I would like to share a recipe for leftover coffee with other additional suggestions and its utilization. If you make the typical Neapolitan mocha coffee on the stovetop or have one of those pod machines, preserving the excess liquid may offer several alternatives. Of course, the espresso type of coffee will give you a more substantial strength, but even the typical American brew type can provide a good liqueur, although less powerful, even if you use the dark roast variety. Often we brew more coffee than necessary and tend to discard the unused amount. Instead, we can make iced coffee or freeze it in ice cube trays for later use. At the end of this podcast, I will include several ways that will use your leftover coffee. If you go to Sicily, for instance, mixing old coffee with ground-up ice will make a delicious granita, a refreshing alternative during the hot weather. We all love coffee liqueur, mainly when used in martinis and other delectable mixes. We treasure its scent and its unmistakable taste and the sensory experience that it provides. I'm sure you have tried the renowned Kahlua from Mexico or the Luxardo brand from Italy, but there are many others. Kahlua, as you know, differs from the others because it contains a small percentage of dark rum. But I have another use for the leftover. I make an excellent liqueur that I drink at the end of my meals or during a coffee break, which is a must-do for us Italians. The procedure in making it is really effortless and very quick. Follow these steps and you'll have your treasure to show off to your friends and family. And here are the ingredients for the preparation. You will need 10 ounces of a bitter leftover espresso or mocha coffee. You can also use strong, dark American coffee as well. You need 5 ounces of pure alcohol or inexpensive unflavored vodka. And you will need 5 ounces of organic granulated cane sugar. And here are the procedures. Pour the leftover coffee into a medium-sized saucepan and combine it with sugar. Bring it to a boil on a very low flame. You want the sugar to incorporate slowly, break down its particles, and dissolve properly. Stir the liquid with a wooden spoon. The total simmering time may run around 10 minutes. Turn off the heat, pour the liquid into a large metal bowl, and cool completely to the touch. At this point, you can add the alcohol, and you will need to mix it very well. Next, pour the ready coffee liqueur into washed, cleaned, and dried glass bottles. Store your new creation in a place which is protected from light and heat sources, and wait a couple of weeks before drinking it. And if you have done everything perfectly as described, you will be able to enjoy your liqueur for up to 90 days from when it is bottled. The recipe I just mentioned is the easiest for your attempt as a starter. You can also add a cinnamon stick, orange rind, cocoa nibs, and vanilla beans during the boiling process, which I refer to step 1. In this case, you will need to filter the finished product through a double coffee filter. There are, however, other applications for leftover coffees. Let's explore some of them. Leftover coffee chocolate cake, for instance. Chocolate and coffee are a match made in heaven. The bitterness in coffee cuts through the sweetness in chocolate, lending a slightly savory and complicated note to a cake recipe. Replace milk with room temperature coffee in your recipe. Infuse your cake with a delectable mocha flavor. Number 2. Leftover coffee overnight oatmeal. Overnight oatmeal is an excellent health and wellness trend. As a coffee infusion to your overnight oatmeal, you can add less of your liquid of choice, perhaps milk or water, and incorporate about a quarter cup of coffee into the mix. If the mixture is too soggy in the morning, you can always add chia seeds to firm up or thicken it. Leftover coffee ice cream. This is one of my favorite. Once you made ice cream at home, you'll never settle for the store-bought variety again, I promise you that. You can make a coffee ice cream with milk, sugar, cream, vanilla, and a splash of coffee. If you're craving a little bit more complexity, feel free to add chocolate, nuts, or different spices to form really your signature blend. Leftover coffee ice cubes. I'm sure you've done this already. Never drink diluted iced coffee again. Pour your leftover coffee into an ice cube tray and freeze it for the future use. Throw the cubes into your iced coffee or even blend them up with chocolate milk for a tasty cold frappuccino. Leftover coffee tiramisu. Everyone's favorite Italian delicacy can be made even more delicious with some leftover coffee. It's impossible to make tiramisu without the addition of some robust and room temperature espresso. You'll need at least 2 cups of brew to get that irresistible mocha flavor. Leftover coffee mole. Mole is a Mexican sauce that hits on all flavor profiles for one-of-a-kind culinary experience. Making a traditional mole may be a varsity-level cooking, but there is a better and easier way to get those flavors. Make a quick and delicious mole just by adding just a splash of your coffee. Coffee will mimic some of the earthy flavors and it will pair well with chocolate and chipotle. Enjoy your mole on eggs, chicken, or as a dipping choice. Leftover coffee is a standout secret ingredient in the best barbecue sauces. Its earthy, complex flavor lends a savory and a slightly bitter note to the sauce, pairing perfectly with acidic notes from tomatoes and vinegar zing. Use your leftover coffee barbecue sauce as a marinade for meats or as a dipping sauce. You only need about half a cup to take your sauces to the next level. You will get rare reviews from friends and family and your incredible new creation. Leftover coffee mocha pudding. Mix up a batch of your favorite chocolate pudding, either from scratch or from a box, and stir in a bit of room temperature coffee. You've elevated your pudding and mixed up a tempting creamy treat. Leftover coffee could be used also for pot roast, and you can upgrade your pot roast by adding half a cup of strong coffee to the crock pot. All you need to do is brown your meat, pop it in the crock pot with chopped vegetable and spices, and add a little bit of broth and a little bit of coffee. The coffee itself will infuse your meat and vegetables with a delicious flavor as it cooks low and slow for several hours. Give your traditional pot roast a savory, complex flavor by adding some leftover coffee. Lastly, the leftover coffee frosting. You can give your frosting a makeover with some leftover coffee. Make a standard buttercream or icing recipe and add in a splash of coffee for a unique flavor. Add some chocolate to make a chocolate frosting to die for, or even experiment with other flavors. And so, dear listeners, before you throw the last bit of coffee down the sink, consider trying one of these leftover coffee recipes. It doesn't matter whether your recipe is sweet or savory. Coffee We'll add a flavor note that's not duplicated by any other ingredient. And that is all for this episode of Flavors and Knowledge and the utilization of leftover coffee. Please follow this podcast on Anchor.fm or any preferred platforms. Follow us on YouTube under the Chef Walter's Cooking School page for brief educational videocast. In addition, our website flavorsandknowledge.com will offer all the necessary information on our services, products, and programs. Lastly, if you're in for a new vacation, you may want to consider our food and culture tours in Italy. And if you are in the kitchen today, always keep your eyes on the fire. We'll reconnect on the next round with another interesting food talk and few opinions. Stay well. Ciao, ciao.
Flavors and Knowledge is brought to you by Chef Walter's Cooking School in Cranston, Rhode Island. For classes, workshops, events, and programs, please visit our website at chefwalterscookingschool.com. For all other services offered by Chef Walter's Food Group, check out our main website, chefwalter.com.